Well, that was pretty messy, huh? uh, are you alright? He didn't, do anything to you, did he? Just ran his mouth, huh? Yeah, I guess he picked that up from me. Come on, let's head to my place. I'll try my best to explain. So, I told you before that asshole showed up. Sharing my past with you was fine. I trust you. I'm just... I'm not proud of who I was. Why didn't I tell you about him? Well, first off, you never asked about my exes. And I didn't bring him up because... is there anything less sexy than getting an earful about somebody who used to take his special someone to Pound Town? Are you blushing? I'm teasing. Relax. Shit. I'm the one who needs to relax. Anytime I hear a motorcycle in the distance, I think it's him. And I never know what to expect with him. We haven't talked in a few years, and the way things were when I left, I wasn't sure if he was showing up to throw hands or what. I ran off because I thought he'd be going to my place. And if there was going to be a scuffle, then I didn't want you to see that. Because, frankly, I'm not much of a fighter. And I really didn't expect him to just waltz right into his dad's tavern. They don't exactly have a great relationship. Seth wouldn't give a shit, though. Not if it meant clowning on me by fucking with you. What? Hey, why are you stopping? Shaking? Oh, my hand. I'm okay, seriously. See, I can't even lie to you about something like that. So you don't gotta worry about whether or not I'm being honest. Yeah, I'm shook up. When Seth was locked up, and me leaving the city behind, this place felt so far away from all that. And when you showed up, it didn't just feel remote, it felt safe. It felt like all the cracks was sealed, and I started to fix whatever brokenness was in me. Living in a world where me and Seth never were, it was nice. And part of me hates to say that, because he wasn't always like this. He wasn't this guy. He wasn't always so cold. He used to care about people. I think. We grew up together. We have a whole lot of history. And the sad thing is, the majority of it, it was perfectly fine. We were pals. And then we were a little more than pals. But when his folks split and his ma left, he was just so angry. He wouldn't admit it. He wouldn't address it. He just got so bitter. Come on, let's walk. We're almost home. Seth was always a mama's boy, and she was a wild one. I don't know how she ended up with his dad, because she's a firecracker, and he's just kind of a mean old drunk. A mean old drunk who saw so much of her in Seth. Whatever happened between Seth and his dad, I don't know. He wouldn't talk about it. But my family basically adopted him. He was over all the time. I think he stayed with us more than he stayed at home. And it was okay for a while. Those days were great. That summer, I fell in love for the first time. So did Seth. But that's when people started looking at us funny. Not just us. They started looking at my folks funny. Like we took Seth in and then Within a few months, they see us being closer than we were, and they started assuming. I mean, they were assuming right, but my folks didn't have nothing to do with that. Even then, even then, even with the people around here murmuring, acting like we were some aliens who abducted Seth and gave him a case of the gay. Ugh, my mom and dad took care of him. But I guess having a bitter loser of a dad spreading his bullshit at the bar to anybody who'd have a drink and hear him whine about it, it started to really have an effect on my parents, on the business. Also, having two horny idiots under the same roof is a recipe for things to get awkward. And we weren't exactly subtle. So, Seth had to go home. Then it wasn't long before he comes to me one night and says he's running away. He wanted me to go with him, but I couldn't. Part of me wonders if I had been there to keep him above water, he wouldn't have turned out like he did. Maybe we could have got an honest job. He could have gone to community college and learned a trade skill or something. We could have flipped burgers, delivered newspapers. We could have done anything. But I was too scared to follow him. And he did what he had to do to survive on his own. I guess he tried to stay with his ma first. And she just, she's a free spirit. He linked up with one of her boyfriends who had some ties to, groups in the city. And then he started working for them. Even when this guy left his ma, Seth stuck with him. He must have felt accepted. Wanted. I mean, his ma left him. His dad didn't want him. And I let him go. So fitting in somewhere, feeling useful and needed, it's no fucking surprise he went with that son of a bitch. Yeah, I know the guy. 2 years felt like an eternity after that. I felt so alone, like an outsider in my own hometown. I was isolated and constantly wondering if I should have left with him. And then I heard that damn motorcycle approaching. And he rode in like a knight in shining armor, on a steel horse, looking like a whole ass meal. He said he came to rescue me. He said it like he knew. Like he knew how bad I wanted to get away from here. Like he knew how bad I missed him. He wasn't the same person, but I didn't know that. And I don't really think I'd have given a damn if I did. I loved him so much. I don't know if he came back hoping to find the parts of himself he'd lost, or if he wanted me to lose myself along with him. But that's what happened in the end. Yeah, I'm okay. So now he's here and he wants Betty. And I bet he's just reveling in the fact that you most definitely want to know who or what Betty is. You wanted honesty, right? Well, you're gonna get it. Back here, in the apartment. We were just grunts for the real criminals, you see. We did the dirty work. We'd shake people down, handle gambling debts, and hustle. Petty crime, usually, but Seth was always willing to go a step farther. It's funny how, when you excuse one little step, next thing you know, you've reasoned and accepted that you're so far out of your comfort zone that you don't even recognize who you become. That was me. but he'd always know exactly what to say to get me to stay. He was the muscle, but he's got a silver tongue, and when he wants to use it, he uses it. And then my parents. Yeah. So, I had to come home, and Seth was so angry and upset. He wasn't even making any sense. So I ran away. Again. But I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, and I came back. I came back to him one more time. The shitty apartment we stayed in, it had its door kicked in. And I saw the boss on top of him. That ex-boyfriend of his ma's. He was on top of Seth, just beating the shit out of him. I mean, bad. I'll never forget Seth lying there, just taking it. He didn't have a mark on his hands. Like, he wasn't trying to block. He didn't fight back. Nothing. And I'll never forget, he looked at me with these eyes. They were almost swollen shut and bloody. He just looked like he was waiting to die. I ain't much of a fighter, you see. Seth would always get me out of trouble. He'd always handle it. And he'd always be so strong. I never seen him lose a fight. Even though we'd become terrible, toxic, broken. He was my hero. And there he was, just giving up. I couldn't see that. I couldn't let that happen. So I grabbed Betty. Betty is this knife his ma gave him when she left. This knife right here that we used to carve our initials into trees with. This knife that Seth never left home without. She was laying there on the table next to Seth's wallet. God, I remember it so clearly, like a movie. I remember the way his fist sounded on Seth's face. Sick thuds, just again and again. And that big son of a bitch didn't see me. He didn't hear me. He had no idea I walked in. And I fucked him up real bad. I was so angry. I was so angry at myself, angry at Seth, angry at the whole situation. And I let it all out. I hated this man. I hated what he did to Seth. I hated the power he held over him, over us. I hated the things I did for him. And if he didn't die, I sure as fuck wish he did. And when I was done, my mind just went blank. So I ran. I ran as fast as I could, Betty in my hand like an idiot. I wasn't thinking. I just knew I had to go home. There wasn't a damn thing here for me, but I wanted that. I wanted the emptiness. It's what I deserved. And so I ran until my feet were blistered and my shoes were all screwed up. I really didn't want you to know about any of this. I could have gone my whole life without telling you what I've done and what I've seen. And I thought Seth would have the sense to just stay gone. I know this is a whole lot to take in. I'm sorry. And if this changes the way you see me, I get it. I really do. It took me a whole lot of time for me to see myself in a different light. I'll be okay. It's just, it's probably best if you go for tonight. Yeah, I'm sure. Everything's gonna be fine. Thank you for not running away and for listening. Tomorrow, this'll all be over and we can have some of those great cinnamon rolls you were gonna make. I'm okay. Seriously. Good night. Be sure to lock up behind you. Seth, what are you doing?